Hey, I'm Kabir, and today I'm going to be walking you through my live COVID-19 county level web app. So, the goal of the web app is to provide an understandable set of visualizations, pieces of information on deaths, spread, and risk of COVID-19 in a county, and information on other attributes to anyone who is seeking to understand the local impact of COVID-19 uh, uh, in the past week, make a decision based on risk. Um, uh, or just explore the relationship between certain attributes and other attributes. So there are three different tabs on this application that allow someone to explore these different things. So the first, the data tab, allows you to input a county of your choice and explore um, COVID-19 information, vaccination information, mask mandate information, and other attributes that might be important. So, for example, if I input Santa Clara County in California or any other county that I want, um, press get results. I'll get a quick output um, with the first piece of information being COVID-19 infection risk in terms of a 7-day moving or rolling average, which is the number of new cases each day in the past week in a population of 100,000 people. Um, so this county has a 7-day moving average of 1.74 new daily cases per 100,000 people, which is higher than 31.49% of counties. So it's in the bottom, approximately 31.49% of counties. Um, and if you want to understand more about what this number really means, you can go to this visualization below, hover over the colored bar, and see that this county once again has a daily number of new cases each day of 1.74 cases in the past week per 100,000 people. It's in the bottom 31%, so relatively low compared to other counties in the US, and has a moderately low risk. So, more about the risk. So, risk is determined by the moving average directly. So the Harvard Global Health Institute has predetermined numbers that are set as different levels of risk. So specifically, a low risk is determined as less than one new case each day. Moderately low risk as between 1 and 10. Moderately high is between 10 and 25, and high is more greater than or equal to 25 new cases. So in this case, because Santa Clara County is between 1 and 10, this county falls in the moderately low category, and you can see that it's low on this scale too. And based on that, we can see that Santa Clara County has a moderately low risk of infection, and that strategic choices must be made, and all sorts of different of suggestions based on the Harvard Global Health Institute's recommendation, depending on the level of risk. And you can also see information on mask policies and mandates. So here we see in California as a whole, there is a mask mandate, and you can read more information here on what that specifically means. But as a whole, there is a mask mandate in place, and in general, it is still important to follow basic things like social distancing, depending on your vaccination status, that you should wear a mask and sign up for vaccinations. And again, this is all dependent on what your current mask mandate or social distancing policies are in your state. And then you can also explore vaccination progress, so you can look at progress over time. So we see in Santa Clara County from December 2020 till now, there's been a rise in all of the different categories broken down by age group. So the reason age group is chosen is because obviously COVID-19 affects different age groups differently. With seniors 65 or older being the most highly risk demographic, most high risk demographic. So the goal with pushing out these vaccinations is to target high risk demographics first, which is why we see the first wave of vaccination being targeted towards seniors. So we can see that here with people 65 or older seeing a sharp rise in the number of people 65 or older being fully vaccinated. Then we see later on adults and children 12 or over being vaccinated, and then we can see the number of people in the whole county, what percentage of that demographic are fully vaccinated. And we can see all 4 of these here over time, and you can also see a snapshot of what it looks like now, which is just these numbers here that are more easily represented, represented in a more easily understandable way. And you can hover over these to see the values, just as you can here. And then finally, you can see other attributes that might be important. So population, percent of people unemployed, income, population density, race demographics, education, again, the presence of a statewide mask mandate, which is shown in more detail here, but again, it's shown here for you. And then again, these 4 values and where the different demographics of age stand in how much of that demographic is fully vaccinated. And that's Santa Clara County. You can do this with any other county. So for example, if I choose a county in Texas, I can type it that way and scroll through. There are a lot. So for example, if I choose this county here, I don't know, Maverick County, Texas, and press get results, I get a very different output because in this case we see that there's 33.57 on average new cases each day in the past week in a population of 100,000. And this number is higher than 98.61% of other counties. So again, we can understand more by hovering over this, and we see that this number once again is 33.57 with the moving average, and that this county is in the top 1%. And then there's a high risk because again it's over 25. And again, we can see different recommendations. So in this case, based on the recommendations from the Harvard Global Health Institute, certain orders may be necessary to prevent a rise in spread because by this number there is a relatively high spread and high risk based on that spread. Then we can see that unlike California, there is no statewide mask mandate. That Governor Greg Abbott lifted the state's 8-month mask mandate on March 10th. Though there is a recommendation to wear masks. And again, different recommendations. And here, I forgot to mention, but if you click this, you'll be taken to the vaccines.gov page where you can sign up for vaccinations depending on your zip code. And unfortunately, counties like Texas, counties in Texas and Hawaii don't provide county level information on vaccinations. So these are left blank to avoid any confusion on certain data, but only those 2 states. So if I do any of the other 48 states, you'll see perfectly valid information. So again, you can see different attributes, and yeah, so we see that this county is a very high risk. And now, if we want to see the nation as a whole and see how different attributes vary, you can go to this page here, stats, and click any one of these three options. So vaccination progress, cases, and deaths, and risk for cases, obviously. So if you do vaccination progress and press load stats, you'll see a set of visualizations that'll help explain how the country as a whole is doing, how different counties are doing in terms of vaccinations, counties that are doing well, counties that aren't. So here we see a map of the U.S., and generally we can see that, of course, first yellow represents counties that are moderately vaccinated, green that are highly vaccinated, and red that are counties that are low in terms of their vaccinations. So here we see as a trend, New England is doing relatively well, and the Northeast as a whole. Georgia, West Virginia, and Virginia are not doing well. A lot of this region here is not doing well. But here we can see McKinley County, New Mexico is very highly vaccinated. Certain counties in New York, Hamilton County, counties in Wyoming here, and we can see a lot just from looking at it visually. But then it might be hard to say, oh, what are the top 10 counties? What are the bottom 10 counties? So then you scroll down here and you can see, oh, okay, so Chattahoochee County, McKinley County, again, like we mentioned here, in New Mexico was very highly vaccinated, and Chattahoochee County, where is that? So here in Georgia, we can see Chattahoochee County, and if we want to zoom in, you can. You can see Chattahoochee County is very highly vaccinated, possibly due to its low population. We don't know, but that's an interesting number. And then you can also see the counties that are low in their vaccinations, And interestingly, like we said before, West Virginia and Virginia are just visually very low in their number of people vaccinated. So here we see the same thing with all of these counties being from West Virginia or Virginia. And we can do the same thing in terms of visualization with risk from COVID-19 infection based on the moving average value for a county. So here we see the risk for each county, and it's important to note that as for vaccinations where Texas and Hawaii don't provide county level information, neither Nebraska nor Florida provide information on county level risk or infections, and then because there's no information on infections, risk can't be calculated, so they're just left blank. So we see here that counties in red are doing poorly and have a high risk. Counties in green aren't doing that, are doing much better. Counties in yellow and red are both moderate. And yeah, so we can see the same coloration from before with the color bar in each count for a certain county being represented here. And again, we can see the top 10 and bottom 10 counties. And interestingly, the same county that is the most vaccinated is also the most county with the most risk. So that's interesting. It's hard to say why, but the data shows something that's not easily understandable. And again, we can see a small subset of counties here with a very low rate of infection. And yeah, so that's the stats page. Again, you can do the same with deaths, and you'll see similar result. And then finally, the explore page, where you can explore any two attributes on your own and see if there's a potential relationship between the two. So, for example, if I choose household income and any category, so let's say vaccinations, and I want to see if income can potentially predict or is correlated with the percentage of people that are fully vaccinated in a county, and you can choose whether to include a trend line or not. I'll say yes. I included the option for no in case you don't want to be influenced by seeing a trend line and want to be able to look at a scatter plot and decide based on that if there's a clear enough relationship. So I'll say include just because I want to see if there's a relationship, a linear relationship. And I press explore and we can see an output. Sometimes it takes a little while to load, but we see here that there's a clear positive relationship. So what that means is as median household income increases, as the household income of a county increases, so does the percent of that county that is fully vaccinated. So here we see a clear cluster that's going up as percent fully vaccinated as income increases, and the trend line shows this least squares trend line shows an R-squared value of 0.16, which in statistical terms means that 16% of the variation in or the change that we see in being fully vaccinated can be attributed or can be explained by median household income. So it tells us that there's a relatively strong correlation and that one can sort of predict the other. And yeah, so that's one attribute. I can do any other one. So for example, if I want to do a race demographic, so percent African American, and again, let's see how that influences being fully vaccinated. And I'll include a trend line. And this time we see the opposite relationship as the percent of a county in terms of its racial composition with African Americans increases, the percent of that county that's fully vaccinated decreases. So it's hard to interpret why that may be, but as the amount of African Americans in the county goes up, so does the amount of that county that's fully vaccinated goes down. So you can do this with any attribute here and explore its relationship with any other attribute. So those are the three pages that you can sort of play around with and check out. And then finally, this About page tells you more about the references and methodology. So here are the sources: USA Facts for COVID-19 information, vaccinations come from the CDC, social distancing policies, mask mandates, all of that come from AARP. The Census Bureau provides race demographic information. The USDA provides unemployment, income, and education statistics. And from USA Facts, there's population information on the county level. And And this website here provides area. So from that, we can calculate population density in terms of people per square mile. And those are all the sources. And then methodology. This is how daily cases per 100,000 or moving averages are calculated. So the total cases in a week are divided by 7. This gives us average new cases per day. Then this is divided by population to give us a percentage of an average percentage of people that are being infected per day. And then if you multiply this by 100,000, you get the number of new infections per day in a population of 100,000 within a county in the past week, which can then be compared and used to determine race, as we see here. And as I said before, less than 1, a daily cases per 100,000 value of less than 1 is low. 1 between 1 and 10 is moderately low. Between 10 and 25 is moderately high. And more than 25 or 25 or more is high. And again, these numbers come from the Harvard Global Health Institute, which you can learn more about here. And yeah, so these are the different ways things are calculated. And of course, if you have any questions, you want to access the code, click here. If you want to learn about some analysis I performed last August based on a primitive version of the data set from then, but still has some interesting conclusions, you can click here. And of course, leave me any questions in my email here. And if you have any feedback, fill out this form with your name and email if you want. I'll respond to your feedback from there. And if you have things that worked well, things that didn't work well, specific tabs that were useful to you, tabs that were not useful, and of course, if there are certain attributes that I've included, race, demographics, income, things like that. If there are other attributes that you think might be important or might potentially have a relationship or could be interesting to include for exploration, let me know. And if anything could be added, of course, say so here. And general thoughts can also be included, and submit that form, and I'll get back to you if you include your name. And even if you don't include your name, it's still very helpful. So thank you. I hope you find this helpful. And again, leave me any questions at my email or fill out this form. And that's it. Thank you.